Come on, come on, let's ignite the light. It's time to shine, make the world bright with the Firefly Initiative. We unite, supporting those who do good day and night.
Hey, here we are again, mate.
We are indeed, Smithy. Welcome back to our newsletter edition video intro.
Yes, this is part of a series of newsletter little video dialogues we put together to sort of put some perspective around what we want to talk about in the upcoming newsletter series, and give our listeners, our amazing volunteers and the communities they serve, little snippets of value along our path of building up the Firefly Initiative.
That's correct.
What have we got in store? What's the new thing in store we've got?
Oh,
Darryl?
look, this one's juicy, Smithy, and it's right up your alley. Look, we've been talking a lot about the 4 R's in the vocabulary of lots of the corporate volunteer management groups. Recognizing volunteers, recruitment, retention, and rewards. Well, I know in the conversation we've shared that I think there's a few more than that. We know there's at least one that we've identified, which is raising funds, right? Or orgs not to know about raising funds. So without further ado, I'm going to handball over to the exciting news about the 25 R's and the Rev Up Series that we're going to produce for our volunteer community.
And the good thing about this one, it's not just you and I riffing. We bring in an unbelievable community supporter, volunteer, and extraordinaire into this series, in every series we do from here. And we're going to talk about 3 key revolutionary tips and tactics, the R's, so to speak, under 3 key pillars. Pillar 1 is the elevation of volunteers. You know, we lean into that strongly, mate. The second one is enhancing fundraising. We think fundraising stands on its own. It's one of the big key requirements of everyone we talk to in the marketplace. And the final one is the one that I'm really passionate about, because I'm a process engineer by trade, is the concept around amplification of outcomes in the organisation. So that's those admin functions, those things that sometimes marketing and et cetera, that's just hard to do because you don't have the skill sets at the table. So how do we support those? So I reckon it would be awesome to bring in our amazing guest. Do you want to do the intro?
Well, certainly. Look, it gives me a great privilege to be able to introduce this particular individual. I had the fortune, as for all those people who have been following our newsletters, to sit down and have a cup of coffee in one of my catching up with awesome people for a cup of coffee sessions. Learn a lot about this individual and the organisation, not just in the prima facie of what he does now, but his overall experience in volunteering. So without further ado, let me introduce the president of the Gold Coast Tool Library, Mr. David Paynter. And welcome, Dave, to the stage.
Thank you very much, Darryl. Good to see you again. And hi, Courtney.
Yeah, you too.
Lovely to meet you. If I could lean across, I'd give you a handshake. I love the work you're doing up there.
Thank you very much.
So you're the first cab off the rank. It's either good or bad, isn't it? Normally, first cab off the rank.
Well, at least first cab off the rank, no one's gone before me, so I can set the bar. And I haven't had to live up to any high expectations yet.
There you go.
We're just going to set the bar from the top, Dave. So that's the plan, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, look, in our intro, you're in the green room. You probably heard us speak about the concepts of the 3 pillars that we, the Firefly Initiative, are trying to bring to market around elevation of volunteers, enhancing fundraising as a critical component of keeping organisations alive and kicking, and then finally the piece around amplified outcomes. How do we better run the organisations that we look to serve and give our volunteers opportunities to achieve success without stress and the worries that can come with some roles. So we've picked 3 out of our 24 or so for us to talk about today. The 3 topics we're going to lean into a little bit and get a bit of a conversation, a bit of riff around. Number 1, under elevating volunteers, the recognition and reward piece. So we'd love to hear a little bit about that. Number 2 is the resonating with stories. I believe, and I'm a strong believer, that if you don't storytell, it's very hard to get passion behind a mission. So we're going to get lean into that one. And then finally, and particularly with a tool library, I think there's some good stories to be told there. We'll listen to some of yours. And then finally, reorganise with efficiency. That's the concept of making sure you got the right people in the right place at the right time. So let's lean into the top one, shall we? Recognise and reward. Your take, volunteers, and how we look after them.
Yeah, recognizing your volunteers is such a critical part, say, especially with a tool library where it's a fairly complex little system to run. So we have to rely on volunteers coming back in a repeat situation. So we need to upskill them and train them. And therefore, it's really, really important to retain them. And we tend to find that by recognizing the hard work that they're doing and the skill sets that they're bringing, because so many volunteers, they've got an amazing background and wealth of knowledge from their previous businesses and volunteering. And so when you sit down and have some good conversations with them and really find out, well, what did you do 20 years ago or 30 years ago? Or in some cases, you know, they're 50 years ago. And this wealth of decades of knowledge and skills that they bring with them. And sometimes they may not have used that skill for 20 or 30 years, but it's still there, and the muscle memory is there, and they pull that out again. And you can see that they come alive and that bit of fire in their eyes as they go, oh, yeah, I'm really doing something and I'm being valued here. And just that praise and that recognition and talking between the other team members and saying, oh, you know, well, John or Mary or, you know, has brought this skill along with us. Because you don't have a lot of, you know, finances or money to reward, you know, your volunteers like a corporation does. But there's lots of other ways we can find ways to recognize the amazing skills and time and commitment and passion that our volunteers bring to our organizations.
I have a follow on that. What sort of skills are you looking at? Like, I mean, across our community, there's so many pockets of talent that you need to find, depending on what you're doing. So, what's the Gold Coast Tool Library looking for in talent?
Yeah, well, it's really like running a small business, really. I mean, we need people who can simply have like all those customer service skills, because we're dealing with members that, you know, they pay an annual membership subscription to come and be involved in the library. So there's all those customer service skills, marketing, promotion. We need people with legal and risk comprehension sort of skills, because insurance in the tool library industry is very, very challenging to get. So we have to jump through a lot of hoops to keep our insurers happy, because we are dealing with high risk sort of items, which a lot of them are secondhand, they're donated by the community. We need to sort of upkeep and maintain all of these items so that they're in a safe operating condition. So therefore we need people with the skills to understand how to maintain and repair and make sure the tools that are being loaned out are in great condition. And that goes across lots of things, because, you know, we've got kayaks and stand-up paddleboards, so we've got water sports involved, and there's that risk of being involved with water. You know, we've got sewing machines and food dehydrators, so we're working with kitchen appliances. You know, we've got pressure washers and things.
You're just blowing my mind. I mean, just this conversation alone, like you think about the complexity of running a small business, and you're right. Like like we're talking about putting really serious matters in the hands of people giving their time for nothing.
Oh, exactly. And that's where you need to, you know, not only protect your committee from, you know, losing their house or being sued, but you need to protect all your volunteers who are working with this gear, but also protect all your members who are taking these items home and using them. And whether that be, you know, some power tools you're working at home, or the tents that they're going out camping with, or an extension ladder to climb on the roof, or kayaks going out in the water, or stand-up paddleboards in the ocean. You've got to think through all of that risk and make sure you're providing a safe, fun, enjoyable experience for all your members in the not-for-profit.
How do you determine your customer? Because your customer could be a volunteer, or they could be a general populace person out there. What is your customer profile for the tool library, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably, we used to be more females than males, but it's probably blended now to about 50-50. If we were to go and pick that sort of target avatar, it's sort of the 35 to 55-year-old male, female, you know, family member is where the majority of currently members sit with us. Obviously, we've got, you know, 18-year-old uni students through to 80-year-old retiree people, who, that 80-year-old just recently ran the City to Surf Fun Run. So he's certainly a fit 80-year-old. So we've got a diverse spread of people. And of course, with the tool library, with that important thing for us with equity of access to items, we work with a lot of people who are sort of, you know, barriers to employment or low socioeconomic, who are really struggling financially. So even though we may pick a target avatar, we are spread across wide variety of people who are our customer.
Yeah,
I remember in our interview, Dave, you commented about the fact that, and it's one of those things. It's really funny seeing your expression, Smithy, because when I sat down with Dave and asked the same question, give us a little background on the tool library, blew my mind. So there's two things. One, like our next point, which is resonating with stories. I hear this fantastic background story about the people who are involved in your organisation, and the question is, how do we actually help with the fundraising process by resonating their story rather than the tool library story? But secondly, is that you mentioned as well that there's a lot of those people which you don't think about that live in a a 1 bedroom high rise apartment or whatever it is that don't have a tool shed, but they need a hammer because they're hanging up a picture or they've got little things to do. So it was one of those things too, from a real practical application of the tool library, which just blew me away. Was those things that you don't think about. We've got an apartment, we don't have an ironing board, or other acquisitions that we don't really want to go and buy something for $350 when I'm going to use it once. Where I think what you do with the tool library is fantastic from that service point of view. So as I led into that resonating stories, the qualifications and background and experience of those people that work with you, how do you think you can reposition that to make that story a part of the process, especially in relation to helping corporates, sponsors understand the real significance of your business? Because it's not just we run a business. We have all these different qualifications that are needed, all the impacts like insurances and liabilities. How do we get that story out, Dave, to tell a little more encompassing story about the tool library?
The library. Yeah, it's like storytelling is so important in any organisation, and that's something that we know we need to do better. Before I started the tool library, I was fortunate enough to we did a little impact storytelling course. It was sponsored, and we got involved in it and made a short little YouTube video to kind of talk about what was the concept of a tool library, because we were the first one on the Gold Coast, and so you had to kind of explain what it was, as well as invite people to be involved. But one of the things that we find is so enjoyable about being involved in this industry is the way you get to help people. And I think we need to get far better at telling this story. To come and be involved with a tool library, the annual membership is very, very low. It's a fraction of the cost of what you pay to buy these items outright. And we've got some wonderful stories of, single parents who they really can't afford, and they're locked out from access to so many of these activities because they can't afford to buy the items. But they can come and borrow family tents, ice boxes, beds, stand-up paddle boards, yard games, and they can take the family away on a camping holiday and have the most amazing family experiences. And they're the sort of memories that live on. Because when you look back on life, you don't kind of go, oh, that was the best shopping day ever. You remember those activities and things you did as a family, you did with your loved ones, the laughs you had around setting up a tent or playing in the creek and having a campfire. Those memories live on for years and years afterwards. And without having access to items to go and do these sort of activities, these people miss out on these experiences. And that's the beautiful thing that we find with the Library of Things at Tool Libraries is you get to meet these amazing people, and they are so grateful and appreciative of the opportunities you provide them by having that equity of access, rather than having to actually have ownership of these types of items, to go and have these amazing experiences. Or even just simple things. We've got one of our customers. He turns up on a Saturday morning, early, bleary-eyed. You help him load stuff in his car, and he's got 3 child seats lined up across the back of his car. And anyone who's a parent, how tiring. You love your kids to death, but it is tiring, and there's bluey toys on the ground and tidy Teddy cookie crumbs everywhere in the car. But you can see this guy, he's happy and he's content, he's dog tired, but he loves coming to the tool library because it's the one time of the week where he gets to be alone and no one's actually asking anything of him. He gets to just drive in the car. He can probably put his heavy metal tunes on or whatever it is that he likes. And he just gets to have that little pause, that little break in life, come down to the tool library, have a chat, have a laugh, get the gear he needs, often a lawnmower and whippersnipper, and go home and mow the lawn. So we provide those other sorts of opportunities, and it's that they talk about the third space, that third space in life. We've got our home and work, our first and second space, that third space, those community spaces. And, it's that mental health aspect too of, sometimes he's having a really hard day and we'll just have a chat and have a coffee and he'll pick up the gear that he needs and he'll go away feeling just that little bit better that he's got to lean on someone's shoulder and have a chat about how life is or how hard life is that week, and the kids are all sick and he hasn't had any sleep. But tool libraries and
sounds like a story that we should be telling Bunnings, because I think their third space is the sausage sizzle, right? Go down and get a sausage.
Exactly.
Go down and have a cruise around and see what sort of things you might want to take home, and you might not even use them when you get home, but you just go down there and you want to be part of engaging with some things, thinking about life in a different aspect, in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a correlating story. We need to lean into Bunnings, Daryl, somehow on that one.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
Shake the Bunnings tree for the tool libraries of Australia.
Well,
how many tool libraries are there across Australia, out of curiosity, Dave?
Yeah, there's about 30 odd tool libraries that are community, not-for-profit operated. There's libraries of things, catalogues within council libraries, but that's a kind of a whole different space. And then there's a few more libraries that are all in the planning stage, which hope to open soon once they get over the really challenging hurdle for tool libraries, which is finding a space at a cost that they can afford to operate from.
It's an incredible intersect into some of the things that we've talked about, Daryl. Like, I can't help myself, but number one is, where do you get your tools from? I'm assuming the community in some way, shape or form. There's some sustainability around that, or do you buy them? I'm really curious.
Most of our items, probably 80-85%, have all been donated by the community. It's amazing how generous the community are. We just put out the call and said, we want these items, and they kind of just all keep rolling in. It's just this continual process. Quite often it's people downsizing, or they come across us and they go, oh God, I wish I knew about you 6 months ago because I bought this really expensive tool.
That's my point, mate. Right there, what you just said is I've had a moment where I had something that I think would have fitted your case of a tool library. I'm not aware of one in our area, and I'm going to go looking after this session today, right? Because I know I've put things on the garbage pile that was a 50-50 and would have been worth just taking down and you going, no, and I'm happy to take it back, or shit, yeah, we'd love that. You know what I mean? And sorry for swearing everyone out there, but the truth is,
I don't think you're unique.
That's that piece, right? So storytelling to you is not just to the people coming into the story and becoming a member. It's how do you tell the story really wide and far to get people to bring things of value to help others, and just that alone is of huge value. Most
certainly is, and we've been very fortunate. We've had some radio and media and press support us in telling parts of that story, and that really helps. Because whether it's tool library things around the country, we all operate on that same thing. We work on donated goods. You get a little bit of grant funding to buy some new gear and that, which is awesome. But we rely on that sustainability factor of people wanting to keep their goods in use for longer and find to rehome them, or just reactivate those dormant goods that have been sitting in your garage for 12 months to 18 months. Because you bought it, you've never used it again. Let's put it somewhere where it can be used by others.
And is there any rules to membership? Any rules? Are there any rules?
Only have to be 18 plus, and that's really just from an insurance perspective. The insurance company respects that, but we are totally inclusive and open to all. So that's one of the beautiful things about library things. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Simply come and join, and we're inclusive of everyone.
Because I'm super pumped now, because one of the things that we have on our roadmap is the whole concept around sustainability in the volunteering communities and linking that into a model of some sort. I'm a strong believer in digital empowerment and driving digital engagement. What tools do you use to run your tools?
Yeah, we have a software program called MyToon, which is designed as the library inventory control system, and it allows all the booking and the loaning and the reminder emails, and it also works as the customer CRM and things as well.
Yeah, okay.
And then apart from that, we're really just only reliant on social media and some email sort of managing programs, etc. Being a smallish number of volunteers who are doing the sailing of the ship, so to speak, we do end up being stretched, and we're not alone. There are so many not-for-profits that the sailing of the ship or the captaining of the ship gets put on the shoulders of only a few. You tend to get, there's quite a few volunteers, they're very happy to come along and row the boat, but there's not many who want to actually help drive it. So it's definitely an area we need to up our game in. It comes down to a lack of time, and it's also sometimes it's just spending the time to find that right bit of digital tech to help alleviate that problem. Sometimes you've got to spend the time to save the time, and if you find that right bit of digital tech, then once you've got it implemented, you then realise, oh, I should have done this ages ago because my life is now easier once I've got it.
But you do have a new tech platform as well too, though, right? To help with your volunteer sector.
Yes, we have Firefly Inititiave, and it is
geez, Daryl, that's
amazing.
not like you.
I stop, mate. I'm not going to get a plug in at all.
I like leading questions. They're solid, mate. Really well.
Yeah, look, and not to do a full loop back to the recognising, but we've had the conversation, Dave, that for smaller organisations, that it's one, we have no idea. I mean, in this newsletter article as well, we talk about one of the interviews that Courtney did with a president that had no clue that he was clicking up, 1,000 hours a year. And just that pure management platform of being able to recognise it and then say, now I need to start to allocate different tasks because I can see and I've identified that I am just way too stretched. And even though yours is a little organisation, I know how many hours you put in. So any feedback on how, Firefly and being able to at least identify what your volunteers are doing has helped with the overall, structure? Because it is a digital tech platform at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's been a real eye-opener and really beneficial to us because somebody else has to approve your hours. So somebody else then becomes visible of what you're doing. And it's very easy. You can kind of go to a Google sheet and put in your hours and you go, oh yeah, but now in this situation, somebody else is, at least someone is then having to approve your hours. So you're kind of becoming a lot more visible. And it's made us up our game to actually then start to do better recording of what hours each volunteer or in what positions. And you can then say, as you mentioned, you start to see this area of the org is actually overloaded because the amount of hours that these people are having to put in compared to this area. So therefore, can we do a bit of smoothing out of that leveling of all those hours and shift some tasks to some other areas? But it's also a really good way because as you go through and approve your volunteers' time, it's that reminds yourself, because yes, you saw them in the library and they were helping and you said thanks and it was all that, but then once you then have to log into the app and approve their hours, it's that second reminder for those in that leadership roles to go, yeah, those volunteers really are giving up their time and putting in the effort for us. And it keeps it top of mind. And it's sort of like, and often you'll find it's the same sort of names coming through that you're approving every week. So it reminds you to go and thank them again. And reward and recognize.
That one's going to go in the highlight reel, Dave. We get every single time we do one of these, there's a new one that goes in the highlight reel, and that'll be one of them. That whole concept of front of mind, I haven't thought of it like that before, but when you place that framing, it really, really made sense to me. It's the invisible people doing invisible things that you forget, right? Because they're just doing them. Yep.
Yeah, it's like they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and the ones that are just that constant engine in the background driving along ticking along that no one has to sort of worry about, they can be a little bit forgotten. So it's a good reminder that need to remember.
So I'm going to ask you a left of field question. I'm going to put you on the spot. Daryl may have before. So we've now got a library. It's a commercial engagement with community. What would stop the tool library giving a discount or some sort of value prop to a volunteer community in Firefly that wanted to come down, that were givers in their communities, maybe not at the tool library, maybe down the road at a church or a community club? What would stop the tool library giving a special access to the volunteers to add to our network? I'm curious.
Yeah, there's probably nothing to stop us from doing some way to rewarding other volunteers. We run a very, very lean business model. Like currently, we're working to just recoup our costs to keep us operational. Right. We're very, very lucky in that our sponsor, PRD Real Estate in Ravenna, sponsors us with a space and electricity and water and internet. They pay for everything. Without them, we would not exist.
So who is PRD, that? Can we get a shout out for them, please?
Yeah, let's get a big shout out to PRD Real Estate in Ravenna. because
Yep.
they are the ones that actually enabled the tool library to launch. Because I was
Right.
searching for over 12 months to find a space to operate from, talking to all our local
Yep.
councillors, everything, couldn't find a space. They stepped up and said, yes, we can help you with this. So they are the ones who actually make us happen. So our business model currently works on the fact that we operate on very lean prices to just, cover costs and keep going.
Sure.
So we certainly can't give away memberships for free, but we can
No.
certainly work out ways to reward other members of
Yeah, I'm just thinking of this
organisations with
reciprocity
Firefly.
model, right? If we build a big enough reciprocity model, I think there's so much spare available resource and opportunity for people doing good. It's not
Yes.
funny. And my flip to that would be maybe there's a tail end to that where you have to bring something of value into the tool library to contribute as well, right? So it's this whole, how do we then get a dual-sided win for the tool library? There's a myriad of ways, but what I love is the ability to aggregate that thinking into a framework. And so, that this is why we're having these combos, is because you hear these stories and you go, that's an absolute, that if we could solve that in one location, it's solvable in the 32 tool libraries across not-for-profit across Australia, right? That's the truth.
Exactly.
And I can't help myself, Dave, just before you go. What's your borrowing frequency? So I join as a member. How many times would I borrow from the tool library on average across your customer base or your membership base?
It really depends. We sometimes have members who just join up for a specific reason. Like they might have been another community group and they just wanted to borrow a whole lot of gazebos, folding tables, etc.
Right.
And they will come and become a membership and just borrow just for that one occasion, because it's so much more cost effective. And then we have our other groups of members who are actively being involved, and they may be borrowing, every second or third week. Some of our most popular items are lawnmowers and whipper snippers and pressure washers. So, they're there every second or third week borrowing the lawnmowers to mow their lawns, or they're doing some home renovations or some building a deck or, landscaping the garden. And they will be repeat members for 6 months. They'll be in every second weekend, every weekend for 6 months while they're working on a project. We then also have, like say travellers, so they're backpackers and they're fitting out a van, and, they just need tools because they don't have them, or they don't want to buy them. They're only in Australia for 12 months, but they'll come and borrow what they need, fit out their van, camper van, get it all up and going, and then they'll take up off on the road. So you will have a repeat clientele who are in there, they're part of the furniture, they're part of our team, and they end up volunteering with us as well because they're there sort of, every couple of weeks. And then you'll have people who come and have the benefits of the tool library assets for a period of time or for a project.
And I think that's one of the other things too. When Courtney mentioned the reciprocity, we've found organisations that have offered an opportunity for volunteers. Other volunteers get to know what the tool library is doing, and then go, "This is pretty cool. I've got some spare time. Can I sign up to help?" So there is that whole, the aspiration that we have of creating this 360-degree, circular economy, where we get that validation of the more good you do for somebody else, the more good they have the opportunity to do, and before you know it, that good has been reciprocated back to you. So
definitely,
I already said I love what you do. I think it's fantastic. I'm one of those dud clients. I actually went on and joined and booked to some things, and then didn't get a chance to get down there. So Dave was probably already going, "Oh, that Daryl Vine, never again."
We'll see you in the library soon, I'm sure. You can come and borrow
you've come on the digital platform and it's marked a little cross against your name.
That's it, right? Don't lend to him. Don't owe to him.
Look, given we're coming up to the 30-minute mark, and that's what we're trying to keep these podcasts, sharp and on point. I think we've touched all the three key topics today in some way, shape, or form, which is awesome. We continue to do that. One of the things that we want to close out with, and I think we touched organically, is that the concepts of digital tools and empowerment for not only volunteers but the organisations is something that's going to be really needed within the marketplace. And so I would just like to ask, how do you go about assessment of those tools? How do you determine what can add value where and when? Is it serendipitous, or is it something you exercise as a muscle in the organisation?
Yeah, we definitely look at in our sort of strategy, because we are time poor. It's like, what can we implement that's going to be quick and efficient, and a good investment of our time, to return on investment for time to what it generates for us. And Firefly's done that for us, and will keep doing that for us as we see your platform grow and expand, and all the new things that will come on board. Yeah, so we're looking forward to growing with you and seeing what you develop in the future.
It's amazing. And look, I'm going to ask, if that was the case and we were the aggregator of a set of tools by not-for-profits around Australia, and we provided a list of information of things that people are doing and creating efficient outcomes, would that be something of value to you that you could link into quickly, rather than having to chase down and research? You've already got people that are resonating, almost like an uptick. You know, we've used the tool. A simple way to say, this tool has been amazing in our organisation for this reason: marketing, operational, inventory control, whatever it is. Is there some value you could think of us if we added that sort of resource to our knowledge base?
Definitely. And that way, that just kind of helps build and elevate the whole ecosystem of the not-for-profits of the space that you're working with.
It's how I'm feeling. And that just came to mind when we were just talking then. So the power of digital is
that we can mind, David, come to background and research, like just in our model. And I can tell you, Courtney's probably smashed about 10,000 different tech platforms, apps.
I'll be able to put at least 200 down before you get out of the gates.
You know, and the learnedness of that, because, you know, it's just as confusing. You go on it, it looks good, you download it, it doesn't work, then you get frustrated, then you wipe them off. And as old guys, you know, it's easy to wipe off technology. Go, just do it this way because I've always done it this way. Having a resource like Courtney has been such an upside for us and the rest of the Firefly team, because he's not just a guy that talks about, oh, this could be good, or that. No, smacks them to death, breaks them. If they don't work, they off the list. If they do work, so we're really fortunate on that basis. And I think, as you rightfully said, Smithy, it could be nothing better than to have a short list of saying, here's the 25 R's that we think that you should be addressing. Here's some of the technology platforms that will help you do that, and not just by recommendation, by aggressive use, functional testing, to know that these are the outcomes. So.
No, look, just in this conversation, and this is why we do these, Dave, for this reason, is to pull out interesting snippets where we can add value back to our wider community and gain insights, like we're hoping to give insights. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, no, definitely, because those items, they've been user tested, they've been road tested, so you can rely on the people within the ecosystem to go, I have used these items, it's proven well for me, this is where it did work. And let's leverage off that rather than having to go and sort of do everything ourselves.
I think it's huge. I think it's huge. And from our build point of view, it's not a massive overhead to build something like that into the framework.
There we go. Thanks, Dave. You've instigated another build now.
Yeah, you've just created more for the roadmap. We're not like we didn't have 5 horizons already. On that note, from the Firefly Initiative, we want to reimagine the future of volunteering and communities. Dave, you've been a super supporter. We really appreciate you giving your time, energy, and commitment to having a chat. We look forward. I look forward to seeing you when I'm up in the Gold Coast next. And good luck with the toy library. And always, let's viva la volunteers, because without them, our societies don't kick. Yep.
No, thank you very much, gents. But always great to talk to you. Thanks. Good to talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Bye, guys.